The Black Ops 6 integration with Warzone has been with us for a little while now, with Season 2 just on the horizon. But even though the season hasn't been live long, there have been lots of updates from Call of Duty regarding their audio. On top of this, the extra settings they implemented this year have allowed us to have more fine-tuning than ever, which is why in this video I'm sharing the updated best audio settings for Warzone and Black Ops 6 right now. Whether you're playing Battle Royale, Resurgence on Area 99 and Rebirth Island, or just regular multiplayer on Black Ops 6, these are going to be super useful. And just a quick disclaimer, when we talk about the best audio settings, we're really referring to hearing footsteps, and we'll kind of assume the rest of the audio is pretty decent. Although for some reason, Rebirth Island is super loud compared to Area 99, literally no idea how that happens. Now in terms of the latest set of updates Call of Duty have done to audio, there was a pretty substantial update on the 19th of December, just before Christmas, that many seem to have missed. This includes reduced environmental reverb effects across all player, friendly, and enemy footsteps, essentially making footsteps sound a lot clearer, so it makes it a little easier to figure out where the footsteps are coming from. On top of this, there was reduced volume of first-person player footsteps. This refers to our footsteps, which makes it much easier to hear enemy footsteps. Then finally, they also increased the volume of enemy footsteps generally. And honestly, this update really has improved things a lot. So now let's hop into the specific settings we can put on to take full advantage of the audio. And we start with the master game volume. Somewhere between 80 and 90 is best for this. Sometimes on 100 people do complain that certain sounds go a little bit distorted, so it's worth just putting this down a little bit. Then if you do need the game to be louder, you can just change it on your headset or your TV or whatever you're playing on. Then as we go into the breakdown of volumes, I recommend putting gameplay music volume on 0, dialogue volume on 40. We do want it a little bit reduced to hear footsteps, but we still want to be able to hear important things, like enemy operators shouting out certain things, or hearing from the game that an enemy is dropping above and things like that. Effects volume, put this on 100. Footsteps comes under this, along with a whole bunch of other important sounds. And then cinematic music volume we can put on 0. And then for enhanced headphone mode, we do want to enable this. It does seem marginally better. And then of course you do have the paid option under here, but it does cost about 17 Great British pounds, so it's definitely not for everyone. And if you are one of the people that have actually got this, there are plenty of videos out there to go over the best settings specifically for that. Unfortunately, that's not going to be here. I actually don't want to encourage people to be buying this, as I think it's kind of a bad direction for Call of Duty to go. But I can't blame you if you have bought it. Then for audio mix, we want a headphone bass boost. This tightens up the dynamic range and equalization a little bit, meaning the gap between the loudest volumes and the quietest volumes is narrowed, so you're more likely to pick up quieter things, such as footsteps. But the downside is that they can overlap with some of the louder game volumes, which is why above we've reduced some of those volumes, and in addition, this setting boosts the bass, which are where footsteps register. Then in a moment, we're going to go even deeper and make the most important changes you can in terms of these frequencies and volumes. Then for mono audio, put this off. This ensures that we do have stereo audio, so we have that directional sound coming to our left and right ear. For mute licensed music, if you're not going to be streaming or uploading videos and things like that, then by all means put it off. But even if there's a small chance you are going to, put it on, because you might get copyright striked. But just before we get into the rest of the audio settings, if you want to unlock the brand new Dark Matter, Abyss, and Nebula camos in Black Ops 6, or grind them extremely quickly in bot lobbies, be sure to check out Mitch Cactus. They're the biggest and most reliable in Call of Duty, which will help you grind out the weekly events, camos, and all the unlocks completely legitimately. You can enjoy highly discounted COD points at up to 80% off. They have over 10,000 verified Trustpilot reviews, and you can use code SPRING for 5% off. Okay, now back to the settings. And now we come on to asymmetrical hearing compensation. We want to enable this and then come down to configure frequency intensity. And the reason we want to do this is we have the ability to manipulate different frequencies and their volumes. So as we just discussed, footsteps and other important game sounds very much come under the bassier frequencies. And right at the top, we've got the bassier lower frequency sounds. So to ensure that we do hear those footsteps, we want to crank this right up. So I'm going to crank these all the way up and then put the next one a little bit up, but then we'll sort of gradually go back to normal here. And then actually as we go to the higher frequency sounds, I recommend basically matching this, but back the other way. So we want to decrease the volume of these. So these are the volumes of the frequencies that I recommend. Now the game is going to sound a little bit different, I'm not going to lie, but the footsteps should be easier to hear in terms of direction and volume. Now obviously you can do your own tweaking to this. If you do want the game to sound a little bit more normal, shall we say, you can put these down to say 40 or 30, and then you can increase the volumes of these higher frequencies back to something more normal as well. And then of course we do want to apply that to both channel frequencies, so the left and right. Then we come down to reduce tinnitus sound, we want this switched on. And then for anyone that's playing on PC, you can also do some extra audio cheese and change your equalization settings. You just go to sound settings, more sound settings, properties on whatever audio device you're using, enhancements, and then enable loudness EQ. So they're all the best audio settings for Warzone right now. Hopefully you did find them useful. And if you do want to improve all of your other settings too, then check out these videos on the best graphics and controller settings in Warzone.